All right. First, just a little disclaimer. This podcast contains discussions of graphic violence, murder, and other disturbing topics that may not be suitable for all listeners. Strong language may also be used. Listener discretion is advised. You want to do the...
Sure. Hello, Sleuth Squad. Welcome to episode 2 to Let's Talk Criminal podcast, where we delve deep into the true crime cases.
It's fine. We're going to keep, you know what? I think we should keep all bloopers.
Let's do it.
All right.
We're just being real.
Yeah.
We're real.
No, I think we should keep all bloopers. Because...
All right. So we're examining the stories of people whose lives were changed forever by the actions of others. We're your hosts. I'm Melissa.
God, I'm Madison. Sorry.
And today we're exploring the infamous and haunting case of the Black Dahlia, a case that has fascinated armchair detectives and seasoned investigators alike for over 75 years.
75. That's just a crazy.
And still...
I mean, there's a lot of people confessed and then speculation on who done it. Who did it.
But still no hard
evidence.
There's
hard evidence.
Yeah, we won't go into it. We'll keep that
for later. Got it. All right, so on January 15th, 1947, the body of 22-year-old Elizabeth Short was discovered in a Los Angeles vacant lot, brutally mutilated, drained of blood, and posed in a way that still chills true crime enthusiasts to this day. The press sensationalized, that was a hard word for me, her story by giving her the now iconic nickname, the Black Dahlia. Behind the headlines was a young woman with dreams, ambitions, and a life cut tragically short. Who was Elizabeth Short? What really happened in the days leading up to her murder? And how, after decades of investigation, has her case remained unsolved? Mind blown on that one. Today, we will examine the evidence, the suspects, and the lasting legacy of Hollywood's most notorious mysteries. So grab your detective hats and let's talk criminal.
So what's crazy to me is how, even with all this advanced technology, like I said, 75 years.
Yeah. I know. Well, and that's
they're solving cold case murders all the time. It's like, where are we at?
Yeah. Yeah, but if the culprit, the suspect, if the unsub, criminal minds here, if the unsub wasn't in the system, like, it's hard.
True.
And there wasn't any semen. There was no semen.
We haven't gotten that far yet.
Well,
no one knows what happened.
I guess we're about to find out.
So let's talk about Elizabeth. So Elizabeth Short was born July 29th, 1924 in Hyde Park, Massachusetts, the third of 5 daughters to Cleo and Phoebe Short. And shortly after her birth, the family moved to Medford, Massachusetts, a working-class suburb of Boston. So her early childhood seemed stable while her father was running a small business, designing and constructing miniature golf courses.
That sounds like fun.
New job.
I don't want to be in a bank anymore.
No.
New job.
I want to design golf courses, miniature golf courses.
Miniature.
However, the onset of the Great Depression in the early 30s devastated the economy, and Cleo Short's business suffered. In 1930, Cleo disappeared, abandoning his wife and daughters. His car was found abandoned on a bridge, leading many to believe that he committed suicide. Left alone with 5 children, Phoebe struggled financially, working multiple jobs to keep the family afloat. Several years later, Cleo resurfaced. Very much alive.
Very much alive.
Huh, look at there.
Yeah. Decided, you know what? I think it's time I play dad.
Let's step back in. Anyways, he's probably a different story. So he resurfaces, much alive, writing a letter to Phoebe explaining that he had faked his death and started a new life in California. There you go. Phoebe refused to take him back, but Elizabeth, then a teenager, reconnected with him.
I wouldn't take him back either. I'm sorry. I love my hubby, but if he leaves me, bye.
I wouldn't even tell the girls. I would have been like, yeah, no. He did.
He did.
We don't need him. He did.
He did. So teen years and health struggles. Elizabeth grew up as a sensitive, artistic, and strikingly beautiful young girl with fair skin, dark hair, and piercing blue eyes. However, from a young age, she suffered from severe asthma and chronic bronchitis. Ooh, that does not go well in cold weather.
I wouldn't think so.
Doctors advised her to spend winters in a warmer climate. I guess I should continue reading. Doctors advised her to spend winters in a warmer climate to help with her lung condition. As a result, she spent several winters in Miami, Florida with family, friends, and developing a deep love for Hollywood films and glamorous starlets. I think we all did in our teen years.
Mm-hmm.
Her dream to escape small town life and become a movie star. My dream too, boo-boo. In her mid-teens, Elizabeth was described as a charismatic but restless, longing for excitement beyond Medford.
Yeah.
Don't blame her on that one. She dropped out of high school by her sophomore year and began working as a waitress and theater usher to support herself.
Okay.
Well, look at you go.
She's getting into it.
Yeah.
So she moves to California and relationship struggles. So in 1942, at the age of 18, Elizabeth moved to Vallejo, California to live with her father, Cleo.
And to clear Vallejo's Northern California. Isn't that where the Zodiac also struck? Was in Vallejo?
Ooh, sounds like it.
I think so. I'm watching that documentary right now too.
But I'd have to look it up and clarify.
So she moved back in with her dad after he abandoned.
Which is crazy because at 18, which, this is however long ago, but you would think, and having an estranged relationship with your father who's been faking his death for the last however many years, at 18, you're going through so much mentally, physically, and stuff. And I mean, yeah, I get it. There's a lot of, progesterone with 5 other women in the house, 4 sisters and a mom.
So much estrogen.
But, you don't move up with across country with someone who I would feel like you barely know.
Yeah.
Not for me.
I know.
I mean, I was really close with my dad, and I chose to live with my dad.
Right.
But my dad didn't fake his death.
Yeah. I'm not close with my dad, and I would never choose to live with my dad. So
yeah, it just, everyone's different. But I guess with the thought of it being California,
it got her out there.
Yeah, that was a step.
Yeah.
So she moves to Vallejo, California to live with her father, Cleo, whom she hadn't seen since childhood. She hoped this would be a fresh start. However, this relationship was really rocky.
Yeah.
Cleo disapproved of Elizabeth's social life and growing independence. After repeated conflicts, she moved out, beginning a nomadic lifestyle that would define the next few years of her life. She moved to Santa Barbara, where she was arrested in September 1943 for underage drinking at a bar. Look at her go. She was 19 then?
Yeah.
The police sent her back to Massachusetts, but Elizabeth was determined to live the exciting life outside of Medford. She soon made her way back to Florida, continuing to work as a waitress while mingling with soldiers stationed nearby.
Gotta love me some soldiers.
So she gets kicked back
to Medford. The police literally sent her back.
Which is crazy because she's technically an adult at that point.
Yeah, but you gotta think it's a completely different time. Like, women didn't go around to parties, and I mean, they did, but they had a different type of reputation.
Yeah.
And
well, it's also the bar's fault too. Who knows? Maybe that's when they started doing IDs now, and.
But I mean, even I grew up in a very small town, this town actually. And I mean, I was getting into the bars at 17.
Yeah, but
I was also going with much older people. My boyfriend at the time, his friends, they were all 21. That's a different story, people.
And did they do fake IDs back then?
I don't think so.
So it's like,
I wonder, what do the IDs look like back then? I mean, was it just a piece of paper with your face on it that said hello?
Probably. You know what? I'd like to know. I'd like to
We
know.
should have Googled that.
We should. We will.
Go to the Googs.
The Google.
The Google.
Internet. Good old internet. So
Oh.
during World War II, Elizabeth developed a pen pal romance with Major Matthew Gordon Jr., an Army Air Force officer. He was stationed in India and later claimed he planned to marry Elizabeth after the war. Tragically, before that could happen, Gordon died in a plane crash in 1945.
Oh, that's sad.
So
that was the love of her life.
Yeah.
That's sad.
But she probably never even got to meet.
That's
he was
sad.
in India. So
she wore black.
She wore black. Elizabeth reportedly wore black for months after his death, fueling the later rumors about her gothic fashion sense that contributed to the nickname the Black Dahlia. Huh. However, the debates over how serious their relationship truly was, some of the family members later denied that he even proposed. True love, you may never know. Not like they called her on the phone and said, "Hey, babe, will you marry me?" This is all via letter.
Right.
And who knows if she has these letters. And
it's not like, he's spending all of his time writing her. I'm sorry, but like, if it were me, I'd be writing the woman I love. It's not like I'm going to be Mom and Dad.
Dear Mom and Dad, today I proposed to a woman that I've never met.
Via letter.
Hope
you like her.
She's a gem. I hope this is what she looks like, because this is what she says she looks like.
Yeah.
She could have been catfishing him the whole time.
I'm sure she sent him a picture.
Oh,
she was a very beautiful. They had cameras back then, Alyssa. There were cameras.
She was the inventor of the catfish.
Yeah. But no, she was very gorgeous.
She was very pretty.
Yeah.
Very pretty young lady.
Definitely.
She wouldn't have catfished him.
No, she definitely could have gone very far in Hollywood. That's for sure.
Yeah. So after all this, the following year, she continued dating servicemen, frequently moving between LA, Miami, and San Diego. So seemingly searching for the stability, love, and perhaps ticket into Hollywood.
You know what, girl?
She should have stayed in LA then, but that's as close as it gets.
I mean, she did stay in LA. That's where she got killed. LA is very, I don't know. I've been there. I don't ever really want to go back.
It's too busy for me.
It is. I like the slow pace, and I mean, don't get me wrong. When I was there, like, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Is that a coyote?
No, it's a chicken.
It's a chicken. Oh my god. Okay, I love it. But I mean, like, it was fun for that age. But now that I'm older, not that much older, but now that I'm older, like, I want a more slow pace. I want chickens and cows. It's
fun to go visit and stuff.
It is.
And, spend a day or two there, but you could get everything done in that time.
Yeah.
I feel.
I think so.
Especially growing up there.
I think so too. So by mid-1946, Elizabeth was living in Los Angeles, couch surfing and working as a waitress while trying to break into the movie industry. Friends described her as charming, flirtatious, and stylish, though often struggling financially. Well, you're a single woman living in LA.
Couch surfing.
I'd be struggling financially too. She was known for her distinctive look. She dyed her hair black, wore dramatic makeup, and dressed in elegant dark clothing, which some believe contributed to the later Black Dahlia moniker. However, there's no evidence she ever referred to herself that way. Probably not, because there was a movie that came out around that time that was called The Blue Dahlia.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. It'll go into that. Right there, look at that. The nickname is believed to have originated from a film of the time called The Blue Dahlia, mixed with her signature dark outfits. Despite her Hollywood aspirations, Elizabeth never landed any known film roles. She had a reputation for dating men who promised to help her career, but ultimately left her with little more than empty words. Hasn't even changed after 70-something years.
Well, she's probably honestly still heartbroken over, Gordon passing. Yeah. Thinking that was going to be
her forever.
Her ticket. Yeah, and she would have. I mean, who's to say that she even didn't get over the whole Hollywood thing?
Yeah, it's true. She had a reputation for dating men. Oh, yeah, already went over that one. So she often moved between cheap hotels, women's boarding houses, and staying with acquaintances. January 9th, 1947, Elizabeth returns to Los Angeles after a short trip to San Diego. She had been traveling with Robert Red Manley, so nickname Red, a 25-year-old married salesman she has been dating casually. Oh, you never go after a married man. Manley would later say he dropped her off at the Biltmore Hotel in downtown LA, where Elizabeth told him she was meeting her sister, who was visiting from Boston. Hotel staff recalled her using the lobby phone, and not long after, she may have been seen at the Crown Grill Cocktail Lounge just a few blocks away. And that was the last time she was seen alive. So it kind of makes you wonder, okay, so clearly she didn't see her sister.
No.
Unless, I mean, she called her sister from there and they met up at the grill, the lounge.
Yeah.
And see, this is where, okay, we got to finish reading because this is where I'm kind of like curious, like, not saying the sister did it.
Yeah.
But let's keep reading. It could have been the wife too. I'm sorry if it. I'm not going to murder somebody over sleeping with my husband. If my husband is going to cheat on me, sleep with somebody else, whatever, you can have him. I don't want him.
Yep.
I got my babies. I have my 2 kids. I'm happy.
Yeah. Yeah. He's all yours.
Yeah, you can have him. Because if he's going to do it to me after being together for, I don't know, 17 years now, bye-bye.
Yeah.
So the murder.
January 15th, 1947. It was a quiet morning in Leimert Park. A mother, out for a stroll with her child, walked past an empty lot on South Norton Avenue, halfway between Coliseum Street and West 39th. What she saw stopped her cold. At first, she thought it could be a mannequin. So that's...
It just goes to show, I mean, there was no blood.
Mm-mm.
She had no blood left in her. Like, there was no color.
Mutilated.
All right.
Severed clean at the waist.
Yeah.
So, I would think that the mannequin comes in a couple pieces. The arms come off. The head comes off.
It detaches at the waist. Yeah.
Easily.
100%.
The skin drained of all blood. Pale as porcelain. It was Elizabeth Short. The killer had washed her body, carefully posed her arms raised above her head, elbows bent, legs spread apart, her intestines tucked underneath her. Underneath her. So she's like total mannequin.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, and that alone, the women, okay, so they've over the year studies and everything else come to say that women don't prefer messy. They don't prefer messy. Like, if you look at women who have murdered, like, I mean, there's been a few cases where women have shot their husbands, abusive husbands.
Yeah.
And stuff, and they still clean up afterwards. And you ask them, why did you clean? He would get so mad at me if there was a mess.
Embedded in their brain. It's part of them now at
But
that point.
It's very well known that women usually aren't messy. They go for the less messy tactics, like poisoning.
Yeah.
Aqua Tofana. Oh, Bailey, I love her.
But my thought is, if it's sister, wife, cut clean at the waist.
That takes a lot of precision.
That takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
You got to have some sort of
somewhere to do it.
I think medical.
Yeah.
I think medical, because how do you know exactly where to cut?
How to cut
is you're not going to, which I'm sure they don't care if something gets cut and bleeds open and stuff, but where's the blood at?
Right. Well, and that's where it kind of digs in a little bit as to the person who done it had to have medical training. So there in the middle of the vacant, overgrown space was the naked body of Elizabeth Short. The killer, you already read. Yeah, so it was a grotesque display, almost theatrical, but it was her face that truly shocked investigators. Slashed from ear to ear in what's known as the Glasgow smile. So from here to from the corner of the mouth, like the Joker smile.
Yeah.
Yep, Joker smile. So like from the corner of the mouth to the ear, it just sliced completely.
Oof.
I know. Chunks of flesh had been cut away from her thighs and breasts. Medical examiners would later determine that she'd been dead for about 10 hours, meaning the murder took place sometime late the night before or in the very early hours of that morning.
So this is the 15th. The last time she was seen was on the 9th.
Yes.
Okay.
Uh-oh, I have to sneeze.
Watermelon. Bless you.
Thank you. Sorry. Allergy season.
Outside. Okay, so Los Angeles Herald Express reporter Angie Underwood was one of the first to arrive. Oh, Aggie. I apologize, Aggie. Aggie Underwood was one of the first to arrive. She captured some of the earliest and most haunting photos of the scene. Images that would soon be splashed across the front pages all over the city. Near the body, detectives found a heel print. Okay.
See, that's where I'm like, okay, was it a woman or was a woman involved? Because
finding a heel print. Yeah. But think, we're in a park. We're in a main park.
So somebody could have been cutting. I know.
If I'm cutting up a dang body, I am not wearing high heels.
But what if it was like an accomplice?
I still ain't wearing heels. I gotta have some shoes on to get the heck out of there.
Well, yeah, but back in those days, women wore heels.
True. True. I forget. We're 75 years ago.
Yeah.
So near the body, the detectives found a heel print, tire tracks, and a cement sack soaked with watery blood.
A brutal mystery had just begun. Yeah.
A cement sack
soaked with watery blood.
Okay.
So did they like carry her organs in there?
Oh, God.
I know. I don't even want to think about them. So the autopsy. Let's go over the autopsy. So the day after the discovery, January 16th, 1947, an autopsy was performed on Elizabeth Short's body by Los Angeles County Coroner Frederick Newbar. Newbar's report painted a chilling picture. Elizabeth stood 5'5", weighed just 115 pounds. She was tiny.
Yeah, that's tiny.
She was tiny.
That's tiny for anyone over 5 foot.
I know. She had striking light blue eyes, brown hair, and severely decayed teeth. But I mean, you gotta think about it. Dentistry wasn't
big.
Yeah, it's not like how it is nowadays. But that was only the beginning. There were ligature marks on her wrists, ankles, and neck, signs that she had likely been bound. I know. Her right breast showed an irregular laceration, and there were cuts on her arms and lower chest. The most horrifying detail, though, her body had been completely cut in half. Not haphazardly either, but with surgical precision. I know. And I apologize now to anybody who watches this because I will probably butcher this word. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Especially since we've been drinking on top of it. I'm like, oh, this is not going to go well. So the method used was known as a hemicorporectomy. Hemicorporectomy. I think that sounds right.
That sounds
pretty good.
Doctorish.
Yeah. Should call my little sister. Phone a friend.
Phone a friend.
She's a vet. She knows these words. And maybe not that word. But it was a procedure taught in the 1930s, typically to amputate the lower half of the body. Her spine had been cleanly severed between the second and third lumbar vertebrae. The lack of bruising along the incision line told investigators something else. Can you guess what that was?
Dun, dun, dun.
She was already dead at the time that this happened. When the severing.
Okay.
Severation. You know what I mean. There was another deep gash over 4 inches long, running from her navel down to her pubic area. And
Oh, this part.
this part. They also found what appeared to be a game of tic-tac-toe on her hip. It was like near the pubic region, but tic-tac-toe.
Yeah.
And how many people does it take to play tic-tac-toe? 2. Exactly. The heel.
Yeah.
And
Like our girl Bailey said, when was the last time you played tic-tac-toe by yourself?
only psychotic lunatics play tic-tac-toe by themselves. I mean, unless maybe you have, a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing going on. You have
True.
split personalities.
True. The heel, though.
The heel, though. I keep going back to that heel.
There could have been women doctors. Maybe she was like, let's go cut up this body real quick and place it out there before I got to go to,
I mean, yes, there are women serial killers and everything else, past history and probably even today. But there's some compelling information that suggests one particular person.
Okay.
And we'll go over that one.
So the infamous facial slashes, the so-called Glasgow smile.
Yep.
Which now I think in our era we call it the Joker smile.
Yeah.
Measured 3 inches on one side and 2.5 on the other.
So that's not small. That's
about like that. I mean that goes about to my ear.
Yeah. I hope you guys are watching the video because it's more entertaining if you watch the video.
So, though her skull hadn't been fractured, there was bruises on her scalp and slight bleeding inside her skull, consistent with blunt force trauma.
So that's how they probably subdued her, or whoever.
That's a good word, they.
Yep. Subdued her. But what was the official cause of death?
Hemorrhaging from the facial wounds and shock from the repeated blows to the head.
So from the cheeks?
Yes, from the facial cuts.
Ooh. I feel like that would be very slow and painful.
Oh, it had to have been.
Poor Elizabeth.
I mean, think about how thick that is right there. Those,
Yeah,
she's tiny, but still like.
Well, I mean, kudos to anybody who has those cheek piercings. What are they? Like the dimple
piercings.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I think of like a fish hook. It's going on. I cried. Well, I teared up on my nose.
Yeah.
Do you still have your nose? Oh, you do. Oh.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine.
Yeah.
I could not imagine because that's some.
It hurts.
It hurts just to bite your cheek.
I know, and I do that quite often.
Or bite your lip. Yeah. Okay, so there
was one more disturbing detail.
Her anal canal was dilated, leading some to believe she had been sexually assaulted.
But when samples were tested for sperm, the results came back negative. But then again, okay, so the person washed her body.
Yeah, true.
Could they have done like some form of like an enema?
True, could have. If they have doctoral background,
then they would have been able to perform it.
Mm-hmm. Took a little pressure washer out there and.
Yep. But it didn't take long to identify her because her fingerprints were sent to the FBI and matched to the 1943 arrest from when she was working at a base in California. Once they had a name, the press pounced. Reporters from the Los Angeles Examiner, part of William Randolph Hearst's newspaper empire, contacted Elizabeth's mother, Phoebe Short, back in Boston.
Oh, this is terrible.
Then they told her Elizabeth had won a beauty contest. A beauty contest.
That's shitty.
That's so shitty. Told the mother that Elizabeth had won a beauty contest. They kept her on the phone asking for details about her daughter's life, her habits, her personality, everything and anything that they could get. Only after they had what they wanted did they reveal the truth, that her daughter had been brutally murdered. Not just murdered, brutally. And it didn't just stop there. The Examiner offered to fly Phoebe to LA, claiming it was to assist in the investigation. But in reality, they kept her sequestered, away from police, away from other reporters, to protect their exclusive.
Wow.
Yeah.
They wanted to have all the details.
Yeah, the press coverage exploded. The Examiner and the Herald Express lean hard into sensationalism. They described Elizabeth as an adventuress, claimed that she prowled Hollywood Boulevard. One article even mischaracterized the black suit she'd last been seen wearing, calling it a tight skirt and a sheer blouse. Anything to get people to read and to talk. The media dubbed her the Black Dahlia. That's where this whole nickname came from. A name that would become infamous. On January 17th, just 2 days after her body was found, the Los Angeles Times labeled the crime a sex fiend slaying.
Wow.
Of course. So a gorgeous young woman, and it all comes back to sex.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but even in today's society, women women who, just because you like sex, you want to get your own, kudos to you.
Yeah.
Doesn't make you a whore, doesn't make you a slut. And the fact that they tried to play it off like that is so messed up.
Who's to even say, Because at this point, they don't know anything about Red.
No.
Oh, Red.
No. Red was the one cheating on his wife. Granted, she knew that he was married, but who knew what he told her?
Yeah, true.
How many times have us women gone to bars or met people, and it's, my wife is horrible. My girlfriend is horrible. I can't leave. I don't know what to do. Just I'm stories. Trapped. Yeah, I'm trapped. What am I going to do? I love you, but I can't leave her. It's all a game. It's all bullshit, if you ask me. They just want their cake and eat it too. And I'm not just saying it's men. Women do it too. I am not bashing men.
No, women
are notorious for doing it too.
Yeah. January 21st, 1947, just 6 days after Elizabeth's body was discovered, the Los Angeles Examiner got a call. The man on the line claimed to be the killer.
He praised the newspaper's coverage.
Promised he'd eventually turn himself in, but not yet.
Nope.
First, he wanted the police to chase him a little more.
Cat and mouse.
Before hanging up, he added, expect some souvenirs of Beth Short in the mail.
Beth. That sounds, granted, Beth is a very common name for Elizabeth. Mm-hmm. But I feel like it's very personal.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't just a one-off, like, some rando bashed her on the head and decided tonight's the night I'm going to kill her. This was somebody who knew her.
Yeah. It was personal.
It was.
Really personal. So 3 days later, a manila envelope arrived at the Examiner's office. It was addressed to the Los Angeles Examiner and other Los Angeles papers, with the letters cut from magazine and newspaper clippings. Across the front was a chilling note. Here is Dahlia's belongings. Letter to follow.
So that was in the newspaper, like Miss Congeniality with.
Yeah.
With the different
letters.
Fonts. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's how I take it.
So that's where everybody got it from.
So inside were items that could have only come from Elizabeth Short. Her birth certificate, business cards, personal photographs, names written on slips of paper, and an address book. And the name Mark Hansen stamped on its cover.
Okay, how would they get her birth certificate, though? That sounds like maybe somebody who, she was staying with.
Yeah.
Could be somebody that she was staying with.
Maybe she carried it around because she was trying to catch a gig.
Yeah, and she was jumping from couch to couch. Ooh, this breeze feels nice.
She didn't have, she could have just carried a suitcase around with her, couch surfing and stuff. She has to keep all her belongings on her at one time.
And she did just get back from her trip with Red.
Yeah.
So she would have had it in her suitcase. So just like Elizabeth's body, the items had been wiped clean with gasoline. Yep. Ugh. So when they cleaned, the body was cleaned with gasoline. Police believed this was no copycat. This was the killer, because only the killer would have known that fact.
Yeah.
Though they managed to lift some partial fingerprints from the envelope, they were smudged, ruined during transit to the FBI.
Damn it.
So it wasn't even. But you know what? It doesn't mean that was like from the police. It could have been the reporters, anything along those lines.
Yeah.
That same day, just 2 miles from the crime scene, a woman's handbag and a black suede shoe were found resting on a trash can in an alley. Both had also been scrubbed with gasoline. And fast forward to March 14th. A beach caretaker discovered a pile of men's clothing at the edge of the water in Venice, near Breeze Avenue. Tucked inside a shoe was a torn scrap of paper with a handwritten message.
Ooh. To whom it may concern. I have waited for the police to capture me for the Black Dahlia killing, but have not. I am too much of a coward to turn myself in, so this is the best way out for me. I couldn't help myself for that. For this, sorry, Mary.
Who's Mary?
So the police searched for clues. A coat, trousers, tan moccasins, size 8, but the clothes gave no indication to who left them behind.
Size 8? That's tiny for men's shoes.
Yeah.
So he
Young.
Or little.
She was little.
She was little.
It wouldn't have taken much to...
No. I mean, size 8 shoe could be typical for a size 5'8" man. So 5'5", 5'8". I mean, he could still obviously overpower her.
Yeah. So another dead end. That address book, it led police to Mark Hansen, a wealthy nightclub and theater owner in Hollywood. He knew Elizabeth. She had stayed at his house for a while along with some friends, and according to her roommate, Ann Toth, Elizabeth had recently turned down Hansen's romantic advances. A possible motive?
Ooh, passion, crime of passion.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's very excessive for a crime of passion. Like that almost seems like it's oh gosh, what is that word I'm looking for? I don't know either. It doesn't necessarily seem like a crime of passion though.
No,
because that seems.
It says he's a wealthy
nightclub owner.
Yeah, he ain't got no problem getting women. He just
no, but she was gorgeous.
She
was gorgeous. For a moment, the LAPD zeroed in on him. Hansen even confirmed that the person she found in the alley belonged to Elizabeth. But after questioning, he was cleared. No evidence, no charges. In total, police interviewed over 150 men in the weeks following the murder. 150 men.
Ooh, one of them was
Robert. Yep, it was Red. Robert Manley, a traveling salesman and one of the last people known to have seen Elizabeth alive. Manley passed multiple polygraph tests and was also ruled out. I'm sorry, though, but there are ways to cheat polygraph tests.
Yeah. But that's the only way they really did things back then.
I know. Still don't like polygraph tests. If anybody, even if you're innocent and they say take a polygraph test, get a lawyer. You don't have to do it to prove your innocence, but the polygraph tests are not foolproof. They're not 100% guaranteed. You could be 100% innocent, and because you're nervous, it's going to spike it.
Oh, yeah. So investigators also dug into names listed in Hansen's address book, including a man named Martin Lewis. He had an airtight alibi. He was hundreds of miles away in Portland visiting his dying father-in-law.
Oh.
The investigation was massive. Over 750 officers were assigned to the case, including 400 sheriff's deputies and 250 California State Patrol officers. They scoured storm drains, abandoned buildings, and every dark corner along the LA River. But still, nothing.
January 26th, another letter arrived at the Examiner. This time handwritten.
Ooh.
Here it is. Turning...
Sorry.
No, you're fine. So here it is. Turning in Wednesday, January 29th, 10 a.m. Had my fun at police, Black Dahlia Avenger.
Wait, so they get this.
And that's exactly what it says, word for word. Here it is. Turning in Wednesday, January 29th, 10 a.m. Had my fun at police, Black Dahlia Avenger.
So he's saying he's going to turn himself in 3 days. Because they get this letter on the 26th.
Yes.
And he's going to turn himself in 3 days.
Police staked out the location mentioned in the note, but no one showed.
Imagine that.
Go figure. Instead, the examiner got another letter that afternoon. Have changed my mind. You would not give me a square deal. Dahlia killing was justified. The press went wild. And here's the thing. Okay, so if you're going to try to think like a psychotic guy, if he's saying that the killing was justified, does she deny him? Does she reject him for some reason?
Of some sort.
So I mean, could be a crime of passion.
It could be.
The Examiner, the Herald Express, the Times, everyone wanted a piece of the Black Dahlia. Sensational headlines flooded the newsstands. Some papers claimed she'd been tortured for hours, even though police knew the truth, that she died from blows to the head and massive blood loss from the cheeks. But they let the stories run. It was a way to keep details hidden from the public and possibly the killer. Then came the rumors. Stories about Elizabeth's love life, rejected suitors, a wild streak. One stripper said she liked to get guys worked up and then leave them hanging. Because we're taking the word of a stripper now, who probably didn't even know her.
Yeah.
And even if she did know her, who's to say that's not for notoriety? Like she just wants to be known.
Yeah.
I don't know. Even if she did get them worked up and leave them hanging, girl, oh, that's a B. Girl, you do you.
Yeah.
You know?
And who's to say how many times she did that, you know?
Could have just been once. That one time. Who knows?
You were there.
Nah. Reporters and even some detectives began to speculate she might have been a lesbian. Good for you. And they started to interview patrons of LA's underground gay bars. No evidence ever supported the theory. One ransom-style letter read, I will give up on Dahlia killing if I get 10 years. Don't try to find me.
If I get 10 years.
Yeah, so he wanted 10 years for brutally assaulting and murdering a young woman. By February 1st, the LA Daily News reported the case had run into a stone wall. Even so, the Black Dahlia dominated front pages for over a month. Captain Jack Donahue, one of the lead investigators, told reporters he believed the murder happened elsewhere, likely in a remote building, maybe a shack, and that Elizabeth's body was carefully transported to the empty lot. Clearly, because there was no blood.
Yeah, that's my thinking.
Given the precision of the cuts, the LAPD turned their attention to surgeons, medical students, and anyone with anatomical knowledge.
That's my thought.
I know.
That should have been check one.
Yeah. In mid-February, they served a warrant to the University of Southern California's medical school. They wanted a list of all current students. The university agreed on one condition, that the names remained confidential. Dozens of backgrounds were checked, but once again, nothing. Just more shadows, more silence.
It's crazy.
So you want to go over the suspects and claims?
So over the years, the Black Dahlia case had been a subject of countless confessions. But despite that many people who came forward claiming responsibility, most of these confessions were dismissed as false. During the initial investigation, the LAPD received 60 confessions, many from men. And since then, more than 500 individuals have claimed to be Elizabeth Short's killer, some even admitting to the crime long after they were born.
Okay, you have to be a little cuckoo in the head. Why would you...
Oh, Lord.
Why would you want to admit to something clearly that you didn't do?
People just want the fame. They want the fame. They want the notoriety. They're seeking something that...
Yeah, but do they not think about like, oh shit, if I say I did this, the likelihood of me getting the death penalty is very strong. Okay, great. I'll be known for something, but I'm going to die for it as well.
It could be a way out for some people.
It's true.
So, as Detective John P. St. John, who worked the case, once remarked, it's amazing how many people offer up a relative as the killer.
Shit, I got a lot of relatives I don't like either.
But there were some names, some suspects that stuck around in the discussions. One of the original detectives on the case, Ralph Asdell, mentioned a man who had been seen parked near the crime scene in the early morning on January 15th, 1947. A neighbor driving by saw a sedan with the right rear door open and the driver standing by the car. After making eye contact, the driver returned to his car and sped off. The sedan's owner was followed to a local restaurant, but he was ultimately cleared of any involvement. Names have come up time and time again, some well known, others more obscure. One suspect was Dr. Walton Bailey, a local physician whose name was suggested by former LA Times copy editor Larry Harnish.
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 But why would you just randomly because he's a doctor?
Let's see.
Okay.
So there was also a claim from biographer Donald Wolfe who suggested that Times publisher Norman Chandler had impregnated Elizabeth Short, which may have led to a motive. Other names include Leslie Dillon, Joseph A. Demise, and even figures like Woody Guthrie, Bugsy Siegel, and Orson Welles.
Do you think he's related to Jason Siegel?
That could be. And of course, there was George Hodel, a name that since became infamous.
Hodel.
Hodel.
So George Hodel was never formally charged with the murder of Elizabeth Short, but his name would come to haunt the investigation for decades. After Hodel's death, his son, LAPD detective Steve Hodel, dropped a bombshell. He believed his father wasn't just responsible for the Black Dahlia murder, but for several others as well.
Mm-mm.
Before the Black Dahlia case, George Hodel had already been under suspicion for the mysterious death of his secretary, Ruth Spalding.
Mm.
He'd also faced disturbing accusations of incest from his own daughter, Tamar. Though he was acquitted in a highly publicized trial, the allegations were deeply troubling, and the trial itself was filled with contradictions and conflicting testimonies. Some suggested that Hodel had used his power to silence witnesses. Your own daughter? Ugh. But the case that would continue to haunt George Hodel, the one that would never let go, was the Black Dahlia. Steve Hodel, in his search for answers, pointed to his father's medical background as a key piece of the puzzle. George had trained as a surgeon, and as the details of Elizabeth Short's mutilation became clear, it raised a disturbing possibility. The killer may have had surgical knowledge, and he was a gynecologist.
Oh, snap.
I know. On top of that, several people came forward claiming to know about a relationship between Short and George Hodel in the months leading up to her death. Then, in 2003, a chilling discovery was made. In the Los Angeles County District Attorney's archives, a file labeled George Hodel Black Dahlia file was unearthed, revealing that he had been a prime suspect in 1950, that the LAPD had even bugged his Hollywood home, and what they recorded was a conversation that sent shivers down their spines. George Hodel, speaking to an unidentified visitor, allegedly said, "Supposing I did kill Black Dahlia, they can't prove it now. They can't talk to my secretary anymore because she's dead. Anyway, now they may have figured it out. Killed her? Maybe I did kill my secretary." So here's my question. The heels. The secretary is dead.
Yeah.
That's I mean, and I'm sorry, but as a child, for you to openly suspect your father,
and
he was an LAPD detective. It's not like he's just some Joe Schmo.
No, but that's probably what drove him to become an LAPD detective.
Yeah.
Having all these suspicions, and you're just a kid seeing these things, hearing these things, and it's like, I want to know the truth.
Yep. And here's another thing. Here's another aspect. So it says here that the secretary was murdered before the death of the Black Dahlia, but why would you say that? You can't ask my secretary. She's dead. Maybe I did kill her too.
No.
So I mean, was the secretary? I don't know. There's so many I don't knows in this, but it all really does point to Hodel. But that wasn't all. Hodel was also connected to another murder, the 1949 killing of Louise Springer, also known as the Green Twig murder. Although the evidence was sparse, it only added to the growing cloud of suspicion. And in October 1949, his name was formally mentioned in a grand jury report as one of the top suspects in Elizabeth Short's murder. But despite all the mounting evidence, the authorities never pressed charges. And it could make sense. If there's reports of them having some form of like an affair before her murder, there was some speculation that she was a prostitute.
Yeah.
So it is very possible that she and he were involved. After his trial and the increasing suspicion surrounding him, George Hodel left the United States.
Ooh, Sketchosaurus.
Right? Why would you leave? If you're innocent, why leave?
Yeah.
He moved to the Philippines, started a new family, and lived there until his death in 1999. But Steve Hodel hasn't stopped searching for answers. He's convinced that his father didn't just murder Elizabeth Short. He believes George returned to the U.S. multiple times between 1958 and 1988 to commit even more killings. Steve, along with other crime authors, has drawn eerie connections between the Black Dahlia case and the 1946 murder of 6-year-old Suzanne Degnan in Chicago. Captain Donahue of the LAPD once theorized that the Black Dahlia case might be linked to the infamous lipstick murders in Chicago. Why? Because Short's body was found just 3 blocks away from the Degnan Boulevard. And when investigators compared the ransom notes from both cases, they found unsettling similarities. A strange mix of capital and small letters, even a misshapen P that appeared in both notes.
Sketch.
I know. Some believe that there are more to this connection than just coincidence. But as the years go by, one thing remains certain. George Hodel's name is forever intertwined with the mystery of the Black Dahlia. Now that he's dead, we'll never know.
Nope. Then in 1991, another claim emerged.
Oh, yeah.
Janice Knowlton, who was just 10 years old when Elizabeth was murdered, said she witnessed her father, George Knowlton, murder Elizabeth Short in the family's garage. In her book, Daddy Was the Black Dahlia Killer, she claimed her father beat Elizabeth to death with a claw hammer. However, the book was met with harsh criticism. Her stepsister called it trash, insisting Janice's account didn't match reality. Detective St. John, too, dismissed the claims, saying they didn't line up with the known facts of the case. Theories continued to swirl, and in 2017, the book Black Dahlia, Red Rose by
I'm sorry.
Piu Eatwell.
Piu?
Eatwell focused on a new suspect, Leslie Dillon. Now, we heard that name earlier.
Yes.
Dillon, a bellhop and former mortician's assistant. Oh, Dilly. We're getting hot. We're getting hot in here. So, mortician's assistant had connections to key figures in Elizabeth's life, including Mark Hansen and Jeff Connors. Eatwell speculated that Short was murdered because she had knowledge of a hotel robbery scheme involving these men. Eatwell also pointed to an incident at the Astor Motel where a room was reportedly found covered in blood and feces the morning Elizabeth's body was discovered.
Oh, so that could have been the place of the killing. And she was completely severed in half, so there would be feces. That's where the colon is.
Yeah. However, the LAPD denied any connection to the motel, while a rival newspaper claimed the murder had taken place there. So people are saying here, some people are saying there, yay, no, yes.
Yeah. Well, police, to be an advocate, we love our law enforcement, but police aren't going to openly be like, oh yeah, you know what? We know for a fact that this is where it happened, unless they were able to collect blood, in which we weren't able to uncover any type of information that they were able to verify that the blood in the hotel or the feces matched Elizabeth.
Yeah.
So it very well could have been where she was murdered, but it also could have been somebody completely different.
Yeah. And who's to say someone didn't just get drunk and trashed a hotel room?
Exactly. And then spread rumors.
Yeah.
And I mean, look at how many people confessed to a murder that they weren't
Over
even
500 people confessed to this. Yeah.
ridiculous.
Then there was Buzz Williams, a retired detective who worked on the case, though his father's connection to worked on the case through his father's connection to the LAPD's gangster squad. Williams believed that Dylan was the killer and even claimed that Dylan had used his ex-wife's connection to avoid
Extradition.
when he returned to Oklahoma.
Ooh.
Oh. Okay.
But was his ex-wife there? The heel.
The
Hello.
heel.
The heel. Coming back.
That's why I'm like, wait a minute. But experts like Larry Harnish argue that Dylan had been cleared by the LAPD, and even the district attorney's office had placed him in San Francisco at the time of the murder.
So he has a very solid alibi.
Yeah. As with many aspects of the Black Dahlia case, the theories are endless, and no one theory has ever proven true.
As we wrap up today's episode, we remember Elizabeth Short, whose life and tragic death continue to captivate the public imagination. Elizabeth is interred at Mountain View Cemetery in Oakland, where after her sister Eleonora settled in the area, her mother Phoebe moved to be close to her daughter's grave. She would spend her final years in the East Coast, passing away in 1992 at the age of 90. Shortly after the murder, the case stirred political change. In February 1947, just 2 weeks after her death, California Republican Assemblyman C. Don Field introduced a bill for the creation of a mandatory sex offender registry. It marked a turning point, with California becoming the first state in the U.S. to adopt such a legislation. Elizabeth Short's murder remains one of the most brutal and culturally enduring crimes in American history. Time magazine even listed it among the most infamous unsolved cases in the world. Her story has been immortalized, not moral, in countless books, films, and TV shows, some fictionalized, some not, all reflecting the enigma of her life and death. James Ellroy's 1987 novel, The Black Dahlia, delves into her murder, blending it with the political and social tensions of post-war Los Angeles. The book was later adapted into a 2006 film where Mia Kirshner portrayed Elizabeth. Though the story strays far from the actual facts, more recently in 2024, Michael Connelly's The Waiting brought the Black Dahlia's case into the spotlight again. Elizabeth has also appeared in television shows portrayed by Lucy Arnaz, Jessica Nelson, and Mina Suvari, whose portrayal in American Horror Story introduced her to a new generation of viewers. Though the truth behind her death remains exclusive, Elizabeth Short's story endures, continuing to fascinate and haunt us all.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us, Lou Squad. We will see you next time. Don't know what we're going to be talking about next time.
Oh, we do know.
We do know.
Yeah.
We do
We
know.
do know. It's gonna be good.
And it all has to do because a certain somebody resurfaced on TikTok.
She brought it on herself.
She did bring it on herself. So now we are going to dig in deep and uncover some of no, we're not. We're not going to say it. All right, I'll shut up.
But I kind of like, we're going to go recent, further back, like keep everyone on their toes.
Yeah. You know what? I just think whatever we're feeling, whatever is going on in today's society, we should just try to tie it back to whatever case we choose.
Yeah.
And if you guys decide that there is a case that you want us to cover, please go to our website, letstalkcriminalpodcast.com. You can leave us an email under contact us and let us know if there's a specific case that you want us to kind of, go over.
Yep. We also have, Madison has put a lot of great merchandise on there. We have cups, hats, bags, jackets, shirts, pants, everything.
Yeah.
So
bandana for dogs.
Yep.
Gotta love our puppies.
Gotta love our fur babes. So be sure to check that out too. We appreciate you guys spending an hour with us, and
we'll also have the drink recipe for the Black Dahlia cocktail posted at the very end of our video. Thank you.
Have a great night.
Bye.